Hey, everybody, this is Christian Zilovitz of School Atlanta QEd, and we are live today with Jennifer Cardon. And Jen Slipakoff, why don't you tell them who you are and some of the work that you're doing and how we got connected, if you would do so kindly.
Fantastic. So I have a transgender daughter. She's 8. She has been living as a female for the past 4 years. Probably started her transition even earlier than that before we kind of caught on. I write a blog occasionally. I am trying to pull together some support groups, trying to start an organization called Trans Family Advocates, where I work kind of as a liaison between schools and families that are starting to have their children transition at their school. Our daughter goes to a private school, so we've kind of been on this journey with our school and with our daughter, and it's been really successful. So I think that, we have the kind of the knowledge and the skill set and the sensitivity to kind of help other families through this process. And gosh, you and I met through Lisa Raymond.
Yep.
Or when we were starting to talk about the THEA conference, and we kind of connected that way and keep running into each other.
Right. Isn't it great?
Love it.
And we saw each other, and and you're one of those many accidental activists out there, which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you right after the the Atlanta Human Rights Gala was this weekend, and it felt so good to me to be standing there and have you run up to me and go, Kristen, it's Jen, I curled my hair. And it was like, we see each other out of context and in these amazing places. And the last time we saw each other was at StoryCorps Atlanta, because we all talked about, we all went on behalf of the Family Equality Council and talked about our family stories. And I was in there with my wife, Heather, right before you went in with your family. And we already knew each other,
Yeah.
And what astounding journeys we've all ended up having, and not on purpose, I mean,
right.
I come from a generally straight family, with there was supposedly, one gay young man in my family who died in 1982-ish, my mother's cousin. He was gay and he died of AIDS in the early days. And I mean, that's about it, and it's and I think about how my parents and my aunts and uncles and all these fabulous people in my family have become accidental activists because of myself and other people in my family who are queer or genderqueer, trans-identified, as it's turning out. And what was it like for you? Now, you've moved into this activism role. You're on the board of PFLAG Atlanta now. And, a few years ago, you knew nothing of this stuff, right?
No,
so
not at all.
Very little, right? None at all, if anything, as most parents of trans and queer youth, right? And so what was it like for you being in that room last night Saturday night with 1,200 people who are mostly, right, probably 95% were queer or trans-identified, and when that woman, was her name Tony White? I forget her name.
It was it Tina? I wanted to write
right?
it down because I was so moved by her and what she said, and I wanted to learn more about. I wanted to find her and talk to her because I was so. I mean, I cried my mascara off the first 30 minutes. Next year, I'm wearing waterproof mascara because it did not go well. But yeah, I was so moved by her.
And what did she say that was, for those who don't know, she's a trans woman, and she said, for the first 50 years of my life, I tried desperately to be a man, knowing that I wasn't, and it's not that I've tried to become a woman, it's that I tried desperately to be a man.
To be a man, and that was it. That was for me what I felt. Of course, that touched me and moved me, and I thought that's something that a cisgender person would be able to relate to, like someone that they would say, "Oh my gosh, that is not what I would have thought." Like she said, I lived as a man for 50 years, you would think that meant I spent all that time daydreaming about being a woman and wearing makeup and fancy dresses. No, I spent all that time trying to be a man, and I just wasn't. And I felt like people that have never heard about being transgender that would be something that would relate to them. But what got me and what moved me and what moves me to do what I'm doing and putting myself out there and, trying to fight for all these civil liberties is that I never want Allie to have to stand up in front of a room and say, I didn't know who I was for the first 50 years of my life. I mean, for her to be able to live authentically right now is my job. It's my job to make sure she can do that. It's my job for me to make sure that my son, as a cisgender person, can do that, to be able to be who he is. And so that for me is that's what I am. That's why I'm here. And, I've always kind of felt like I had this missing part of my life. Like I always kind of felt like I was struggling. I always told my husband, I'm going to be a late bloomer. And I had gone back to school multiple times. I went back to go get my MBA, and then I went to nursing school, and none of those things fit. And then when I kind of started doing this work, and I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right. And like you said, your other child is not trans.
No.
And so, people can say, "Oh, you're making your kid trans," like as if a parent wishes this on their child, right?
Yeah, because it's so easy.
They feel like there's that what they were told they were at birth is not who they are.
Right.
And
and I feel like it offers some validity to our story. Like, people say, well, why didn't you just give Allie boys' toys when she was little? Well, I did, because that's all we had in the house. That's all she played with, or that's all she had access to. She just was never interested.
Right. And and so tell me, now that you're involved in PFLAG, and I'm so glad you shared about Saturday night, because this is great feedback, I think, for HRC to continue to have. They've probably never had so many trans folk, never mind to have a trans woman up there, and then Ames Simmons up there getting to stand in front of all his people. And Ames and I had been in contact on Facebook, and then he came to our fundraiser back in March. And we finally got to meet face-to-face, and it was so, I just wanted to stand in front of him and just, jump up and down so he knew I was there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was, standing in the back with my, with my bright colors on, just hooping and hollering, to have a trans woman and a trans man stand up there and know that there was so much visibility, that there is trans visibility within the HRC. And I got to talk to Chad Griffin afterwards, because I had met him at Southern Comfort a couple of years ago, when we did the first Unfamily conference. And he walked into the firestorm of people saying, look, HRC hasn't backed us up historically, but he has really stepped up. And I think to continue to say, one thing that was really striking to me was the fact that there wasn't that much excitement in talking about the success of gay marriage being approved, becoming the law of the land. It's like there wasn't. Did you notice that? There wasn't all this hooping and hollering and ovations for 5 minutes. Because of, I think, I was like, is it that people are complacent, or that they're just so ticked off at all the laws that are, these bills that are coming to the forefront? It's not over,
I think you're right.
It's not over.
No, I think that's it. And I think, and my husband and I were talking about that on the way home, and he was saying that, all these stupid, religious freedom and bathroom bills are just a slap in the face and retaliation for marriage equality. Absolutely, because none of this was, people were flying under the radar using the bathrooms that they wanted to use, and now all of a sudden it's a thing. Well, it hasn't been a thing, but it's been happening for so long. So
centuries.
Yeah, exactly, literally. So
where did they think we went to the bathroom before?
Yeah, exactly.
And what locker room did they think trans people used before?
Yeah, exactly. But Yeah, so we were talking about that. I do think that it's just almost so overwhelming, like the work that we have to do is so, you kind of, it's like, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah. Did your husband, what else did your husband, did he reflect on that that was really striking to him that evening?
Well, first he laughed.
If you don't mind you speaking for him,
No, of course, no, he doesn't mind.
Because you guys chatted on the way home, so.
He's used to this. He's used to me talking for him. And he's so open about, we really are on the same wavelength. But, well, first he laughed because when we got there, I ran into a bunch of people that I knew right away. And then after that, I didn't see anybody I knew. But, like, his first walk in, I saw you and I saw a bunch of other people. So I kind of, like, left him and went and said hi. And he's like, oh, so this is how it's going to be tonight. And he's like, this is Jen's arena, because he was my date. So we kind of laughed at that. But because usually I'm his date for things. But
right.
He was really inspired to start being a louder voice. And I was too. I mean, I've always kind of kept my blog and I've always, kind of just done things kind of quietly. But I think we realized that night that quiet voices are good sometimes, but I think we need to be louder. And that was kind of our takeaway that night was, we are in a position and we have, resources and we can talk to people and we can let our voices be heard. And we have this great experience and this great journey that has been successful that we can share with people. So he's always been kind of content to kind of let me do the advocating and, and I don't have a full-time job, so it makes sense. But I think he was very inspired to kind of take a more active role in being an advocate.
That's really awesome. I think, and so often in PFLAG families, right? There's often one parent who stands up more and might attend the meetings, and then like I've met David and Tori Stivers and some other amazing people who we actually got to go talk about ourselves in Pride School. In the very beginning, we were invited to go speak at a PFLAG meeting in June, and we had just really had our first planning meeting in May. And my story is different from Justin Cartier's story, who was the other founding family who's helped start this, And it was just so inspiring. I love going to a good PFLAG meeting because
they're awesome.
And my parents have come around. It took a little while, but there's nothing like a PFLAG hug. And so, because, and that's what I say to people, like, they're like, I'm so alone out here. My friends are also not doing so well, and I need, my parents are having a hard time with me. And so I really appreciate that you guys have become a PFLAG family, and not just the PFLAG family, but the people who show up on a regular basis and are there to support not just families of lesbian, for those who don't know, PFLAG is parents, friends, and family of lesbians and gays and trans folk. And that for queer and trans folk to show up and get that love from parents who are not worried what the neighbors think of you.
Right. And I think, too, it shows that there's hope. Like, my mom took a long time to come around, too, to Allie's transition. It was not a smooth beginning. But she came to a PFLAG meeting with me last month. And, I mean, she's really come around. And now, she gets like fired up when I say, someone said that. And she's like, what? That's ridiculous. I mean, so for us, it was nice to be able to say, look, this was we were not always on this great path. And now, look, she's at a meeting with me. And I think that kind of gives people hope, because I think that sometimes when people don't get the response that they were hoping for, or that even that they deserve from their families, that they're just going to just turn around and walk away and not look back. And it is a journey. And, sometimes it should happen. Yes, should it happen right away? That ideally, yes, but that's not how it is. And everyone kind of has their own journey to acceptance. And I try not to judge my mom's journey.
Exactly. Because she worries about her grandkid, right?
And she worries about me.
She worries about you, right? She worries about you and and her grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to know that they're not going to die. They're going to find somebody who loves them. They're going to make grandkids. They're going to find somebody to love them, somebody to love. They're going to have a job. They're not going to live home the rest of their lives.
Right.
And especially as we know for trans women, you know, the statistics are horrific, especially if you're on the margins. And as they continue to say, what a difference it makes to have the love and support